Hey everyone, Natissa here, and welcome back to You Can Grow Too, and welcome to our garden in early July, which is for us here in Florida, the subtropic zone 10. It is just a few weeks into summer, and so far this has been the best summer gardening season I have had in a while. There are two reasons for this. Number one being having realistic expectations. Last year I did a video on how I was really feeling last summer, and part of the conclusion was I needed to have realistic expectations. And our summers here are hot, humid, so many bugs are out, and it's so hard to get out in the garden. But with those realistic expectations of how summers go here in Florida, I have felt so much better. Number two, we've been actually getting a lot of rain pretty regularly, and I can water the garden, and I do try to keep things going, but rain does something that I cannot. Everything is looking good, lush and green, and I will say overgrown because that is summer as well. And with also broken garden tools like a lawnmower, like a weed whacker, these are the realistic expectations. This is real life. So it still looks great to me. One of my favorite summer gardens so far. We have a lot of tropical perennials to look at and easy to grow annuals, so let's get started. So around our suburban property, we do grow a lot of fruits and flowers and a lot of supporting crops, but this flower, it's been on our property since we moved in. Not sure what it is, but it has been blooming the last couple of years. Very tropical looking. And going down our south side, we do have a lot of chop and drops, some cassava here, a lot of tropical perennials, Mexican sunflowers right here, and along the west side, we will be seeing our banana forest. Lots of clumping bananas. But down here in the corner where our bird bath is, I do have a couple of cassavas. It's a tropical root crop. And you don't really see it here, but not too long after filming, or maybe you can see the starts of it, something has happened to it. It looks like spider mites, but I'm not quite sure. And it's not doing so well right now. And also moringa in the back that my husband just stuck back there and is coming. So we're gonna have a lot of chop and dropping food. And this fruit tree right here is the peanut butter fruit tree. Tastes just like peanut butter and jelly. Maybe not as sweet, but you definitely taste it. It is flowering and budding here. But right now, a few weeks later, because editing is taking me some time, but we do have fruits on this tree. And I'm very surprised because it has been in the 90-degree Fahrenheit, which usually things are very difficult in fruiting because of the temperatures being so hot. A little assassin bug up there to show that we have good bugs fighting for us in the garden. And this fruit tree is one of my favorites. It is the Jamaican cherry. You may hear it called the cotton candy berry, or perhaps even strawberry tree, but I don't like to call it that because there is another fruit tree called the strawberry tree, so I never want to ever there to be a mix-up, but these fruits taste so good. And I did have one in a pot I talked about earlier, did very well, and it just died on me. And I wondered if it was something to do with the soil being too moist and it rotted out, or did it outproduce itself? So I actually cut off about 100 of those first fruits to help it along. And here in this container, we do have some shishito peppers, and this is my tried and true pepper. Whenever I need peppers, I just go to my shishitos. And my dog, apparently, Lunabelle, discovered she likes them too. So Yep, who knew, who knew? And in the back here along the west side, like I said, I do have our banana forest. Tons of bananas. We at some point need to thin out, I'm sure. And this is a jackfruit tree amongst it. And it's actually doing all right. It has been flowering, but I believe it's the male flowers that have been coming out. Just a fun experiment, but it's about roughly 5 years old. So that's just kind of neat. And so far, my best bunch of bananas yet. I am so excited. Last year we had a lot of good bananas, and unfortunately the hurricanes took them all out. But thanks to David the Good's wife, Rachel the Good, she came up with a cookbook to help encourage all of us on what we can do with some of these unique crops, and she has a recipe for green bananas and really liked it. Also, I have Elisa's cookbook from the Urban Harvest, and my goodness, when you get cookbooks like that that deal with these unusual, or to us, unusual tropical crops, it just, I don't know, gives me confidence in the kitchen. And here we are, we have our sugar cane. In our last tour, it looked like we had rust or something on it, but the rains we have been getting has made the sugarcane look a lot better. But unfortunately, our okra that was doing so well in the pot is not. They both completely died. Was it a lack of enough water, a lack of nutrition? I don't know, but I accept it. And we also, in the container behind it, used to have melons. That has died as well. I have plans for those melons. But this is a type of green onion I've really liked this year. Unfortunately, the bugs took a lot of my onions out. But I hope to have that green onion be in my garden again this coming fall. And it looks like it's going to flower, but that's actually a spiderwort flower. So that way you don't get confused by that, because it threw me off. And in this first Titanic bed, we have a bed taken over by sweet potatoes. This was planted with peanuts, and I don't know, I didn't realize there were this many sweet potatoes in here, long story short, and it just completely took over. So I don't know what we're going to get as far as peanuts go. But I do want to try again in the future, but that might be my only plant. But I looked out today and gosh, I can't even find that plant. It's already flowering. Does that mean it's sending its little peanuts down below? I do not know, but I don't know if I'm going to find out this year or not. But next to that Titanic bed, I call these two beds the Titanic bed as well. And it has my archway, which finally has something growing on it. And we're going to be taking a look at that soon. But first, I do want to look at the snake bean. This is not a cuckoozy. This is not a noodle bean. This is some sort of gourd. And yeah, the worms or not worms, but the green caterpillars really took it out. And we do have some new growth on it. But honestly, I don't think we're going to get anything from it because it doesn't look too good. So that's all right. I mean, win some, lose some. That's the name of the game with gardening. And in the back, this is millet. I have some pet birds, which you probably hear behind me in some of the videos I have. And I sometimes throw their bird seed in the compost, throw it in the garden. I don't mind having the millet plants growing. And in here, a wonderful watermelon year. I don't 100% know what variety this is, but I did take seed from that mystery watermelon I had show up last year. I do have some peppers growing in there that I know that's the Cubanelle pepper, along with a perennial basil that I'm testing out. It doesn't produce any seed, it just, you just take cuttings from it. But a lot of watermelons, and if you saw my last tour, I should say, I discovered in that moment that the stem was completely split. And I was so disappointed, but I let the plant grow. Shockingly, it did. And it produced us 2 really good watermelons in this bed. Spoiler alert, I did harvest them because I knew rains were coming and I thought they were ripe because of signs. And I discovered they were not ripe enough and a little disappointed. I think I did pick them too early, but we're still eating them. And it has been raining on and off in this tour, so I had to keep running the house, coming back out. But we did get more rain and no complaints about that at all. So continuing on where that stem was, that broken stem of that watermelon plant, we do have our ashwagandha. It's actually looking really good. I need to remember to collect the seeds. I want to experiment with that, but I'm mainly just seeing if I can get it to grow, and it seems like I can. So that'll be really fun. And in this archway Titanic bed, oh, the yams, my edible air potatoes. I think it's Dioscorea bulbifera is the scientific name, related to those invasive ones that they used to have here in Florida. But this one is edible, and it's not as invasive of a grower from the experiences of some I've heard from growing it. So I'm really excited, and you're not going to see it in this tour, but not long after the filming of it, we do have our edible air potatoes coming in. Now going to the next Titanic bed, we have a glimpse of the watermelons in there. The largest watermelon so far was in this container, and it was 18 pounds, growing with this okra that we're actually getting some okra from. Not the best looking okra plant, but still doing something. And the plant, the watermelon plant itself, is actually coming from that large raised bed, but the first watermelon I guided it into the container just to protect it. But yeah, it's very large. It doesn't really show too well in the camera how large it really was, but it was very heavy. And here's the plant. There's even another watermelon hiding up in the bed here. And presently, right now, as I'm speaking with you, it is still in the bed. And there is also another watermelon, very tiny though, along this bed. And even right now, it's still a very tiny fruit. But I'm hoping to get a little something from it. Moving past our watermelons, moving past our sweet potatoes. Looking back at the sugar cane again, we really do grow it, we really do make syrup from it, but I really like how one of my name yams are growing up the sugarcane stalk. It's like a living trellis. It's actually very beautiful. Very nice space. Below it is our Okinawa spinach. Purple. It has a solid purple underneath, usually in the fall time when it's cooler out. And here we have our Suriname spinach, another tropical green. It really does appreciate the moist soil and the rains that have been coming in. And it produces beautiful pink flowers and seed pods, those little balls. They droop and they literally explode everywhere. So I have this growing all around the property, but no complaints. And more sweet potatoes. I did not plant any of these sweet potatoes. These are perennial here. So I have a video I'll be doing about that and talk about more of that later. But we do have a roselle plant hiding in there, hoping to get a little something from. And our peach tree that had broken due to our Everglades tomato growing up it, using it as a trellis. In this fire pit, which is now a garden bed, we do have our 2 Jubilee watermelons growing in here. I really should have picked just one. And also have 2 roselle plants growing in there, along with the Suriname spinach again. But, oh my goodness, I just could not select. That's always the hardest thing for me as a gardener, is to have to cut one out. I'm getting better at it, but I need to get even better. Here at the bench area, it's a very inspirational area to me. It's not complete of how I want it to look yet, but it's so far looking good. I really like this plumbango. The flowers do look droopy because it had just rained, but this keeps blooming throughout the summer, and there are some of those buds that are all over. So when those flowers are gone, there will just be a whole new flush of flowers, and it has been just no care from me. So I'm really liking it, and I really like how it's growing within the yam vine, the name yam. And it's so ornamental, but yet edible. Not the plumbango, but the tuber of the yams. And behind the bench, we do have a cassava growing back there. I need to remember to harvest it this summer because I actually did not harvest it in the winter, and it's going over its year mark, and I'm going to see if I can still pick it in the summer and it still be good. And another cassava on the side. Lots of cassavas. I am working with preserving it and I'm finding it successful. And like I said, like this bench area, it's really inspiring me to do edible ornamental gardens. I mean, gardens are already beautiful enough, but to maybe do the front yard like that as well. This space is just very inspirational to me. And down in there, because I'm trying to complete my little project, is a little plumbago plant, a cutting that has made it. So I'm trying to make it very symmetrical where the bench is. And here's a good ground cover. It is the sunshine mimosa, and it's crawling all over the ground. And it has little pink powdery puffs that are usually there in the morning, and then they die and create more, but it puts nitrogen in the soil. And here's an edible cactus. I was so excited about it. This was my best growing one. I planted more around the property and they all rotted out. And this was before the rains, so it had nothing to do with the rains. I'm guessing roly-polies because I have a lot of them. Maybe they took interest in it. I have no idea. But who kills cactuses? That's my question. But maybe we'll try again. I do have some more cuttings inside. I do have a papaya plant here because I'm just having it as a holding spot. And back along this fence, this is the north side, but the left side of it, my wing beans not doing well. In fact, I don't think they are there anymore. I'm not quite sure why they didn't really take off on this side. Here's my, what I like to call Old Toby. It is tobacco. It was about 12 foot tall, and we cut it down in hopes it would flower more, but it didn't, but that's okay. Our vincas, my tried and true, always talking about those. Going into this other raised bed over here is our sunflower. I was so thrilled. My dog, Minu, eats all the sunflowers, so if we get one, I am just thrilled to pieces if we get it. But you can see that she did nip at it on these leaves. And about 2 hours after filming this tour, we had damage. A squirrel was at the tippity top of the sunflower and I saw it nip the flower off. I could not believe it, but I'm so glad to see it on this tour because I just appreciate the sunflowers when I can get them. Oh, down below this beautiful sunflower, we do have another perennial called scarlet sage. It's always blooming, and even when the blooms kind of die back, more are right behind it. Another roselle. We make our jams from the fruits and tea, and you can eat the leaves. And another watermelon, but we'll see how it does. It's late planted, and it's from a store-bought watermelon that my husband gave me seeds for because he knows I like to try planting them. Stepping back from the bed, going down, I don't have the name of what this is. Is it a native to Florida or is it a Florida friendly? I like how these bunch at the bottom of the garden beds because I do think it keeps the soil in and it just looks so nice. And when our weed whackers and other garden tools are failing us, it just looks so good there, especially when the flowers are really going. This is probably the next day, actually, because it rained some more and I had to go inside. So actually part of this tour was the next day. And we are now in the rock bed. And next to it we have our Callaloo amaranth that has gone to seed. A glorious plant. It will look good for a little while and then the bugs come in and take all the leaves. I wasn't harvesting from it much because I just wanted to see how it grew, but it was so beautiful. I took pictures of it, but pictures just did not do justice. But right next to it are our noodle beans. And my goodness, our Guyana long bean and our Thai soldier long bean. And very vigorous growers. And you can see here the lighter green one is most likely the Thai soldier. And the darker green leaf is the Guyana long bean. I got to grow them side by side with my single seed challenge, so I got to compare the leaves. But we do have the Thai soldiers coming in, and that has always been my tried and true, but I have been trying the Guyana long bean and I've really been enjoying it. It is a bean that can get 3 foot long, and here are one of those beans I accidentally missed. It's not any good for eating now, but I did save the seed from it. And I'm going to give you a nice visual of how tall these beans can grow. I mean, about 3 foot. And I'm about 5'5", so it just gives you an idea. Very long beans, very fun to pick, I'll tell you that. And they are quite vigorous, and my trellis is filled out a lot more than what you see here because it still has some time to grow in the summer. And next to it, our beautiful Cuban oregano. It needs to be weeded out, and we have been weeding out the garden all summer. That's just part of gardening. We have our Egyptian spinach there, a tried and true for our summer greens. Tastes very good in salads. And down below, a picture of what this used to look like. And this is our pink amaranth, and the bugs are already coming into it. But such a beautiful amaranth. I love cooking with it. I just need to really be on it and harvesting the leaves. But very nice, very nice. And moving along, can't move too far along because I have my 2 dogs playing around like crazy. my garden buddies, sometimes garden pests, I won't lie, but they're sweethearts. We have our lemongrass we use for chop and drop and teas. I also have an eggplant here that I did get a couple eggplant from, but my dogs do use that as a little pathway. So I don't know how well it's going to make it. But here are our annual sweet potatoes planted in containers. It is an experiment that I am doing versus my perennial sweet potatoes because last year I did not get a good harvest from my perennial sweet potatoes. And this year I'm planting individual annual plants to compare, what the yield might be. So that's going to be an interesting video. They don't really look that good. I admit they kind of got dried out a little bit in the buckets a few times and did have some white fly on there. But that happens, with all my other sweet potatoes as well. I just try to treat everything as I just normally would and compare it. Because sometimes as gardeners, we can't just be out there all the time taking care of every little thing, but I still want to compare the harvests of both. Have a little Lagos spinach in here. Gosh, having a real hard time with some of my containers last year and this year, but that did survive. Have another cassava plant. I'm growing in the Growing in Sand video that just came out. So that's a project. We're going to connect this growing in sand bed into our rock bed, but it's just going to take some time because we have other big projects we have to do. But this is a strawberry guava. It has been flowering. It has not been setting fruit yet. But we also just put it in the ground not long ago. And I'll admit we didn't put any compost in. Not that I'm aware of because my husband didn't plant it. I think we just planted it in the sand. So every opportunity I get, I've been just chopping and dropping plants on it. And in this container, we just stuck in, a porterweed. Didn't think it would live, but we're letting it live because there was a watermelon from a container kind of growing up the porterweed, using it as a sort of trellis. So I just left it there. But that watermelon is really not doing too well. I let it dry out a couple times. You're going to see the watermelon on the other side. And you can see my nothing but native sand. My goodness. But in there is a watermelon hanging on that little trellis. And there's another one within the turmerics. But they didn't make it. But I think it's important to show what's going on and then what really happens, because that's just, like I said, real life gardening. And our turmerics are planted in there, multiple kinds, along with gingers. Didn't want them there, but sometimes you just got to get things in the ground and we'll sort it out afterward. Going to the other side, we have our yerba mate, and it is a good caffeine plant. Again, in the sand, trying to build up the sand. And in this cute little wishing well that we've grown our lettuces in last season, we have a Lagos spinach I just stuck in here. And it is my best Lagos spinach I have ever grown. It's a type of celosia. It has edible leaves. And my goodness, these leaves are large. I'm going to give you a nice comparison with my hand so you can get an idea. And I'll admit I haven't been harvesting from it because it's just so beautiful. So I'm just enjoying the way it looks. And it should be putting out some nice pink flowers at some point, and maybe I'll save some seed because some of my seed is not so good. But yeah, very beautiful. Kind of coming around this way. Oh, let's give you a good reference point. Here we are back at those watermelons, the Titanic beds as I call them, with the archway that I showed you earlier. I am checking my watermelons to make sure they didn't split because of all the rain. Something important to do. But here next to this lemongrass, we have our conkerberry. Very excited about. Never had it before. My husband and I bought it at a plant festival and didn't know much about it. The price was right and we just thought, let's just buy it and just see what happens. But I'm really excited to see how that's going to turn out. And probably my best patch of African potato mint right there. And also what I call my wild lettuce. I bought it as a blue feathered lettuce, but I believe it's just a more of a wild variety. It just shows up around the garden. More Egyptian spinach, and amongst the Egyptian spinach, a very late planted watermelon. This is Crimson Sweet. I actually do have a watermelon on it right now, so I'm hoping it will do all right because I had a lot of splitting watermelon I'll be talking about later. But I just want to see how late can I push the season. Can I just keep planting watermelon plants and just kind of have a nice little, harvest of them throughout the season? We have more roselle and a tobacco plant there. Been playing around with the tobacco as chop and drop. And here on the other side, more callaloo amaranth that has been eaten down by the bugs. Really good plant though, a lot of seeds, and I have been seeing birds come to it, so I'm just letting the birds have it. And we're still within the rock bed, and we're back to our Cuban oregano, and amongst that Cuban oregano is a pigeon pea. We are trying to create pockets of shade in our garden because we have our oak tree in the backyard that we're going to have to take down. So we're trying to be mindful of that. And here we are back at the noodle beans, back at the Guyana long beans that I was showing you. So you kind of see where we're at. But yep, it is definitely, presently I'm looking outside right now, and yep, the trellis is filled. So we're going to be having another tour soon to kind of show you within about a month's time how everything is, how everything grows just so fast, it changes so fast. Coming out of our rock bed, we are going to go to what I call the cornerstone bed. And we're going to make our way to the end where this moringa tree is. My goodness, what a crazy grower, but I recommend it for the south, the deep subtropical, tropical south. Because this tree, not only can you eat from it, but you can eat the leaves, eat the drumsticks that come from it, the type of fruit. That's what they call it, the drumsticks. And you can also use it as a chop and drop in your garden because it just grows so fast. And below it, I do have a watermelon. Oh, I was so frustrated. This was my super hybrid watermelon. I actually bred it within my Jubilee, and it split, and I was so frustrated. But we're going to talk about in the review video of the season I'm going to be doing my watermelons differently, maybe not focus on my super hybrid watermelon. There's some King of Bitter herbs in that container that I want to experiment with. And looking down at our toothache plant, it is not at its prime right now, but I was thrilled to grow it. I tried it from seed, didn't work, but I did find a little plant of it that was just a few dollars. And my husband and I did try the flowers. You chew on it, and it kind of numbs and tingles your mouth. It's really strange. It's supposed to help if you have any sores, but when you drink something after it, it's almost like a soda. It's very, very crazy, so we're having fun with that. But yes, that watermelon was going everywhere, and I'm wondering if it's because of this Oya. This is an Oya that we had made from flower pots. And an Oya is just a kind of an ancient way to water your garden. You bury it in the ground, fill it up with water, and it's supposed to help the root system. But I need to talk about this. This is lettuce growing in our summertime, and I've never had lettuce go this far. And this self-seeded in my flower pot, and I kind of moved them around the garden, and I'm so glad I did that because now I found out that I can push lettuce further than I thought, and it still tasted good. That was the thing, it tasted good, but it has to do with variety. This is a heat tolerant variety. I think it's this variety. I'm putting it on the screen now because I can't think offhand what I think it is, but I have reason to believe it is that. So definitely going to be pushing my lettuces moving forward. And coming down that cornerstone garden bed, behind the lemongrass everywhere, we have another watermelon. This is my Black Diamond, and a watermelon did form here and it's still out in my backyard now, but it is severely damaged by what I believe fruit rats, but I'm going to see if it can still work. We'll see. I also do have another pigeon pea growing in there because, again, trying to do pockets of shade. I did have a moringa cutting in there, and I showed you in the last tour, but we changed our mind and going to do a pigeon pea. But cassava, we have more of that tropical root crop, also known as yucca, going down the back of the bed. But here is a cowpea. I did a cowpea video on how I sometimes like to cover crop in smaller spaces. And aphids really took out this plant, but that's all right. I mean, was it the rain? Was it too much water and rain, and that's why it didn't do well? Because last year it did very well. We're going to go behind the cornerstone bed because I really have to show you this, and it is the single seed challenge. I do it every year, and it is of my Guyana long bean and the Thai soldier long bean, which is covered up by this cassava and watermelon. But here's the Guyana long bean. It did, make it to the trellis and grow straight up. Not doing too well at all. It's still trying to grow, but we have a lot of aphids on it. And it is growing in a small food container, so I have to be very realistic about that. But that was part of my experiment. So I do have a video on that. I can link it below so you can see what I did, why I did it. But on the other side of this cassava, we do have the Thai soldier long bean. Ooh, you can't see it. You can see the little food container down there. But it did not climb and vine out like it normally does. But we do have a flower right there. But it just kind of got buried by all the watermelon and all the other plants that just grow vigorously in the summertime. And you can see that watermelon plant. There it goes. Whoosh. That is my super hybrid that I've been working on that I don't know if I'm still going to be working on it. But I do find it interesting because that super hybrid watermelon was my single seed challenge for last year. That was a major fail. And look at there, a fruit from, it's just kind of funny to see that was last year's single seed challenge. Here it is fruiting. And here's this year's single seed challenge, the beans all amongst each other. But I hate to say that these watermelons you've seen right here, as I'm showing you, those split as well. I was so upset. But presently I do have another watermelon on that plant, and we'll see how it goes. Now going along the back of the fence area, that is my north side of the garden, we do have another ashwagandha. Trying to see if that works. I also have cardboard around the garden. We were practicing with sheet mulching to see if it can keep down the weeds. I still have my thoughts about that, but we'll talk about that later again. And my grapevine, it was going glorious. Oh my goodness, bunches of grapes. We saw it on the tour, but I told you, and I was correct, that the critters were going to get to it first, and we did not get one grape. Oh, what should we do? Take it out? Leave it? I don't know. But I have used this as sort of a trellis and also a protection for young seedlings. And one of those seedlings that have been protected by this grapevine was my cuckoozy plant, which we are going to see right here, the cuckoozy gourd that you can use as a zucchini substitute. This is my best looking plant I've ever grown. I mean, I've only, I think, tried it once, but definitely this is the year for it. And it is looking really good. I did have to take care of those green caterpillars at the beginning. I was very diligent about that. But then there is a point with my plants where I just let it go because it gets to be too much. But either the plant makes it through or it doesn't. But this plant is making it through very, very well. My husband is taking care of the stink bugs that have been appearing on here, and there have been a ton of eggs. But yeah, those pests, that's my fault. I didn't go to him soon enough to have him help me with the bugs because I don't like dealing with bugs. But I've learned my lesson. The moment I see some of those stink bugs and leaf-footed bugs, definitely get on it. Oh, I cannot forget to talk about my beloved wing beans. I am growing a purple variety and a long wing bean, and also my regular wing bean. This is looking so much better. Last year and the year before that, they completely died. But the thing different this year was I planted with the rains, because wing beans are not drought tolerant and they need moisture and definitely good soil. I'm working on the soil. I did put potting mix in the area where I planted it just to help it. I mean, they're still struggling, I'm not gonna lie, but because we're not getting daily rains as we should be getting. I'm also showing in here, I don't want to forget, I am showing aphids. I think I did spray them with soapy water. I haven't seen aphids since, so I don't know if that helps you as well. But these wing beans in here, they're kind of hidden. They are struggling the most. But the wing beans on this side are doing very well. So for whatever that is worth. And there's my Panadol plant. This is good for, I've heard, painkillers, pain-killing herb, also supposed to deter rats and rodents. But this is my perennial basil I just showed you. But here was the eggplant I pointed out. I was hoping to pull it through summertime, and it completely died out. But that's okay. We are moving along the cornerstone bed here again, and we have this Bolivian coriander. I just recently used it in a taco dish and it actually tasted really good. So sometimes I get intimidated by new herbs, and I want to keep working with that. We're going to go along the fence now. We have our plumeria. I have my pink one here. And this is one of my favorite spots in the garden, and I like that it's right when I walk outside my door. And it's hard to tell of the beauty completely because the grass is a bit overgrown. The lawnmower wasn't working at this point, but my husband and I have reset all the stones, and we just have beautiful greenery. That's a lot of Cuban oregano. I have some perennial basil in there. We have an Egyptian spinach growing in this container, along with another cassava, the yucca, that tropical root crop, and the Cuban oregano. So wonderful. That's the flowers of them. They make these sort of, I don't know what the flower structure is called, but it's just very nice. Even when it's suspent blooms like that, the way they just stand all up along the wall, along the fence, it's just very beautiful. We are always eating from that plant. And over here, it was looking really good, is our loofah plant. Again, I was planting that with the rains. And, it was looking good. It did produce some loofahs. The rats got them. Now the worms are getting them. But presently, right now, I do see new growth along the nodes. So I'm hoping it will just pull through. Sometimes plants do that for me. They'll be horrible, and then give it some time, let the pest cycle out, and then it comes back. So we'll see. Another one, I did not plant this here. This is another one of those snake beans. I think what happened was I planted some seeds, they didn't come up, and I usually reuse my potting mix or seed starting mix if the seed doesn't come up. And sometimes I will have surprises show up. And I did put potting mix in here, so it was probably a seed that was in there and it decided to show up, and I'm just going to let it grow. Again, the stupid caterpillars have gotten to it, but I do see new growth on the nodes again, so we're just letting them go, letting the rains take care of them, and then my extra watering. And this is not going to work out. I'm pretty sure it is my Jubilee watermelon. It's, I do get a lot of sun here, so I was kind of surprised. But, it's all right. I mean, it's branching out now. I'm still just going to let it grow because you never know if it will put out one fruit. My knocked over plumeria plant. But here is a Name yam. I have so many yams around, so many different ones. And they all have come back from last year. I planted 7 of them, and all 7 have shown up. And here's that watermelon again, a living trellis. But looking good. But turning over to the AC area, this is just a little area here where I do grow some things still. I have a new yam I am trying. To me, it is the ube yam, the purple yam. Beautiful ornamental plant that you eat the tuber of. Is it tuber? Yeah, I guess the tuber is the word. It will form a large root like a sweet potato, and it'll be purple. And from my understanding, it should produce some aerial roots along the vine. It'll look like hanging potatoes. I haven't seen any yet, but I have been keeping my eyes peeled for that. But a very beautiful plant. And below it, it's starting to climb. It's perennial for me. That's probably why it's so slow. But it is the butterfly pea. I have 2 of them here, and they have the blue flowers that you can turn into tea. And there is some medicinal purposes with it. So I was expecting to have them flourishing at this time, but that's okay. I'll let them keep growing. And another cassava. So many cassavas everywhere. Ciso spinach below. And here along the back is some arrowroot. The one that looks taller is closest to the house, but that also has a little more shade. Does that have something to do with it? I'm not sure, but I have not eaten from them yet. I just let them come back, but I do have to try them. And we have below here, where our katuk was on the top, and below our katuk we do have this beautiful purple plant. It's not edible, but it's just beautiful. It seems to love the shade. But yes, in that little nook, a lot of things you can grow. And moving over, we have another katuk plant, a wonderful tropical greens that seem to spread along the root system. I've been seeing a lot of new plants showing up, and I'm trying to thin it out and harvest them out. It is flowering, as far as I know, but always do your research. I read the flowers are edible, and sometimes that will end up in our food. And it will also produce a white ball that's actually very ornamental looking. I think it's edible. I need to look into that more, but a very beautiful plant. And below, a dandelion, which is edible, but not growing as well as, again, my Suriname spinach, Boko Boko spinach, waterleaf, goes by many names. Have it all around. And this large green thing is a 4 o'clock, and it grows so easy here. Forms a tuber in the ground, dies back in fall and winter, and comes out in spring and summer, and it flowers in the evening and nighttime. And below here, another blue turmeric plant. I have these all around the yard, actually. I think we're going to be seeing them more. And just trying to find a good spot for them. This is the blue turmeric. You can see it by the stripe. Perhaps other turmerics have that, but I know the common orange one does not. So I know that's my blue turmeric. And Ciso spinach. I must grow green in the tropics. When it's raining and the soil is moist, it comes alive so much and is so good. And another Cuban oregano. And we're going to turn ourselves around here, and we're going to go out this gate, because this will lead us into the front yard where I have more edibles. Not a complete garden setup, but here we have our garlic vine. Very ornamental. It gets very beautiful lavender looking flowers. You can eat from it. Still learning about it. But I also have my cranberry roselle growing on either side, which self-seeded itself. And along in the front of the house, I do have chaya, another edible green, and more katuks on either side of it. It's actually very ornamental looking. Still trying to figure out the front yard. And I was even attempting a watermelon plant. I think I just planted it too late. We'll play around with it more. I am liking the very natural kind of wild look. But here in the front yard tree, which actually we might have to be taking down, we do have a coffee plant. Just a fun grow, not expecting much from it. We have our Ciso spinaches and pineapple plants. These pineapple plants were not looking good during the hurricanes or our winter time, but because of the rains, they have been coming back much better. They take a long time to grow. And amongst here, we have, well, you'll see a lot of passion fruit because we do have our tree, which I will be showing you. The passion fruit is growing all around it. And we have our Mexican petunia, I think it's called. I've heard people say it's invasive here in Florida, but I haven't had that problem, and it's been growing here for years. So, I don't know, enjoying it. Passion fruit everywhere. I know, I have to pick it up daily. So many. We've been actually dehydrating it because it's just so much. Another project I want to do is what I called this past fall and winter, the success on a slope. The water comes down and waters this bed. I just have the wild lettuces growing in it right now, but want to do better at that. And I have a little Yaupon holly shrub. It is caffeine plant, something I want to get into more just to make sure we have caffeine on the property. And I believe a native as well. Here's a tree. Unfortunately, it will have to come down, but at the tippity top, you might see the vines growing up it, and that is the passion fruit vine. Even the pine tree next to it has a passion fruit vine going all up it. It's crazy, crazy success. More vincas. It looks white on the screen, but it's actually a pale pink. Trying to get vincas growing. It is a very just carefree flower. Looks beautiful. African potato mint. I have this trying to grow on the side of the front yard because it is very ornamental and edible. I have a jicama plant there. I don't know about it. I'm not going to get any jicama this year most likely. I was hoping to grow up that chaya tree as a trellis. And another pineapple. So we're coming back in the backyard. This is actually the south side of the house. And very hard to find things to grow here very well, so I'm always just throwing plants back here. More cassava. We have the CISO spinach down below. More chaya. Looking very good. And like I said, just throwing many plants at it, just trying to see what works well here. And this is all working pretty good. Gotta have some rain, but the moringas are growing super duper tall. I actually don't harvest from it much. I was hoping to get some fruits. And it flowered wonderfully, but it didn't set any fruits, but that's okay. The lemongrass, my gosh, I cut that back not long ago, believe it or not. And I just use it as a chop and drop. But we have yams growing in here. I see some sweet potatoes down here. I'm just letting them go. And, you know, we get things from this part of the yard. Like I said, just trying to see what works well here. But yeah, just throw plants around. That's how you figure it out. Oh yes, crazy lemongrass. Great for chop and drop though. But right here we also have pigeon peas. I did harvest the ones that I think I talked about in the last tour, and they were rotting because I just let them sit out too long when the rains were coming. So I learned my lesson, you know, as soon as I see them dry, just get them in. And so when the rains come, it's not gonna rot them out. I just wanted to show the yam climbing up this part of a moringa stump. I think I did end up cutting down that moringa. Oh, that might be it right there, growing tall. But I did chop it back because it grows so fast. But very beautiful tree. And we have right here the velvet bean growing along the back of this trellis. And this trellis I might have to move out maybe a half a foot because it's actually under shade when it grows up this trellis, believe it or not. Does that help the plant? Does it hinder it? I don't know. But the velvet bean has made it to the top, well, the top of the trellis, and it's about as tall as me. I also have more growing along this side of the fence. This is a toilet paper plant. Goes by another name for the subtropics, tropical areas, but I don't know. I haven't tried it, but it's just kind of a novelty grow. And I have more of the porterweed next to it. Very beautiful. The bees and butterflies do love it. I don't see any on there presently, but there's always something on it. But it has been raining on and off and been gray, so that's probably why. But very good plant and flower to grow. And going next to it, there's another velvet bean. This is a new bean to me. And my goodness, I can't wait to show you how it looks on the next tour because the stem of it is crazy. That is a grape plant growing there. I don't think it's going to do so well. But here is that velvet vine again, velvet bean vine. And the vine itself is so thick, much thicker than what you just saw. Longevity spinach at the bottom. And here we have more beans, but this is the Puerto Rican black bean. They're starting to take over. I have 2 of those plants. So, I don't know, was that too much? I don't know, but we do have our flower up there of the Puerto Rican black bean, and I did harvest 1 pod so far. And of course, another yam taking over. And like I said, it's one of the 7 that has taken over, and I let this one just climb all over our mulberry tree because, I don't know, I just let it go. We'll be cutting that mulberry back later. But it works as a nice trellis for these yams because those yam vines need the light to help create the tuber that is down there amongst the CISO spinach. A very wonderful CISO spinach patch that has been eaten down by bugs, but it always comes back. So I just keep it going there. So looking around, another little tropical sage plant, more of that Ciso spinach, and we are going to walk out this gate. And we have more of the Mexican sunflowers. This is the perennial Mexican sunflower. I just chopped and dropped that just a few weeks ago, and you can see how fast that grows. That has a lot of nutrients in it that you can lay down and use as mulch, and it breaks down and gets to your plants. In these containers here, I do grow taro, a tropical root crop. Not doing too well. I think that's my problem. I did not thin them out. I also have some weeds growing in there, but I also had a ton of assassin bugs in there, and I just didn't want to deal with it. What's kind of funny is this plant is coming out a little hole out of the drainage hole. And, well, there you go. That's a drainage hole right there, just to give you an idea. But coming out of it is this holy basil, and I thought that was funny. I don't know how that seed got there just so perfectly, but it's working. But amongst here, I do have some papayas growing. You just don't see them right now. They're very little, and some gingers. So it's all right. We're going to swoop around here. I have a fire bush. I think that's what that is. Got to tame it. But underneath, it grows so well. Our gingers gives it some shade and is hopefully keeping some moisture in the ground. This ginger is looking much better than last year. Also have some perennial sweet potato growing in there, and my beloved Indian burr gherkin, my cucumber substitute, which I have found. I can also slice them and cook them, and it's almost like a nice crispy summer squash. The one I showed you in the last tour ended up dying, but there were 2 seedlings next to it that I let them go, and it's slowly creeping out. It is a slow grower, but once it grows and then starts setting its blooms, it will just fruit everywhere. And that Thai basil plant right there, my husband just plucked it out of the ground, stuck it there, and it grew. More cassava. That is a yellow variety, a yellow-rooted variety, amongst some perennial sweet potatoes. I keep thinking I get rid of them, and I just never do, but that's fine. It's free food. And my hyssop plant, I was shocked. It was flowering. I planted that, oh gosh, I want to say a long time ago. And the moringa going at the tippity top, I have already chopped that back a number of times this summer, and we're only in the middle of summer presently as I'm speaking to you, but the filming of it was a little earlier. This is our Barbados cherry tree. I know it can produce a lot. It just hasn't since then. I think we just had a very difficult couple of summers, also had some colder winters, some hurricanes, so I'm really hoping it will work because I know it can. And below, more blue turmeric. We are trying to get these established in our garden. We actually had these growing in the carport, but I think in the garden will be better. And they're doing pretty good. I'm watching them spread in this space, so we will see. Coming around here, back to pretty much where we started earlier. I do want to show you this papaya plant. I think it's so cool. I'm not a fan of papaya. We tried it, fully ripe. I do want to cook with it more green, but we'll see. Tried dehydrating, didn't like it as well. But there are those flowers. Just tons of food, tons of food. Lots of food you can grow in just a backyard garden. Well, we made it back here to the beginning, and I want to thank you for joining me on my summer garden tour of what I think so far has been the best summer yet, or at least starting out to be, because we are in the beginning. Thanks to the rain, and most importantly, my realistic expectations. If you're in your most difficult growing season now, or your most difficult season is coming, check out this video. I go over how I was really feeling last summer when it was my most difficult season. Still very relevant human feelings, and I go over the plans of how I wanted to overcome that. And well, it is this year, and I was doing those plans, and well, I'm feeling good. Now that I'm feeling good about this summer garden, it's already time to start thinking about fall. So I gotta start pulling out all my seeds. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.